It's a very powerful position you're in, right? When you look at me and say, don't talk yet.
It is. I'm
By the way, did you see this? I'm over the whole Viking Packer thing now.
I know. You guys look like friends again. It looks like a peace offering.
Mama Cadlick sent out a choke cherry jelly from...
I thought you weren't supposed to say you had it because now Sue knows you have it.
No, I hide it in the fridge. I hide it way in the back of the fridge, and then, I've got the long arm, so I'm good. I'll be all good. All right, yesterday, you heard us talking about this earlier. Doug Burgum, can't use labels. Okay, so Doug Burgum, Fargo Republican, well, that's a label. Doug Burgum's running for governor. Okay, so Doug Burgum decides he's going to run for governor, but he announces that he's going to go to the primary he doesn't expect to win at the convention. To me, that was a big wet kiss to the already established candidates, both of whom we're going to have on today. Representative Rick Becker will join us later. Right now, we are joined by Attorney General Wayne Stenehjem. Wayne, good to have you back on News and Views.
Good to be on, Joel. How are you?
Wayne, I'm struggling with how you can say you're going to honor a process and then announce that at the same time, either way, you're going to the primary. And I'm not going to lie to you. I respect his choice to do that. Kevin Cramer already did it, right?
Well, yes, but Kevin didn't come to the convention when he went directly to the primary.
Yep, exactly. So, I'm sorry, Wayne, but this was a pretty easy one for you to criticize, in my opinion.
Well, and I don't want to be critical. I do want to say I'm disappointed. And before I do that, if I could, I want to say that Doug Burgum is a friend of mine. The friendship between the Stenehjem family and the Burgum family goes back many years, and you may not know this, but Doug's brother, Brad, who sadly passed away a couple of years ago, was my roommate in law school for 2 years. So I know the family very well and have great respect. But I do have to say I'm kind of disappointed because when you do go to a convention, the implicit agreement is that, look, I'm asking for your support. I've been around the state to all the district conventions. You've vetted the candidates. You've listened to everybody. And there's an implicit agreement that you will abide by the result. And to say that you're going to come in and ask for support, but it doesn't matter whether I get it or not because I'm going to the primary is something that I think will disappoint a lot of Republicans at the convention.
Well, and I'm going to throw this to you, Wayne, because you're a student of North Dakota politics. My party, the party that I come from, has never been the same since Nick Spaeth did just that. He ran against Bill Heigard. People like me, after Bill Heigard was nominated, should have got 100% behind Bill Heigard. In the end, Nick Spaeth took him on in the primary, beat him, and then got waxed in the fall. And that was supposed to be a coronation election. And so I'm not sure that it's good for the Republican Party itself as a whole.
Well, I think that what will not be good for the Republican Party is that we endorse a candidate again who then doesn't succeed in the primary election. And I think that is something that, as I look forward to how I intend to proceed right now, I have my eye on the ball for the state convention. We're having 47 legislative district conventions all across North Dakota coming up in January and February. I'll be at as many, probably all of them. There might be a couple of conflicts, but I'll be at all of them doing what I've done in 6 statewide elections before, asking for these people to come in to support me. These are the people who represent our activists. You know this, the same thing in your party. These are the activists. These are the volunteers. These are the people who really promote the candidates. And so I've always been proud to go and ask for their support, show up at a convention. I think I've been a delegate to every state convention since 1972, and every one of those times I've gone in and I understand we endorse a candidate, everybody gets behind them. You don't always get your way. Sometimes the person that you favored didn't make it, but nonetheless, that's how political parties work, and I think that's an important part of the process. So where we lose is if we endorse a candidate, especially for a high office like governor, who then goes into the primary and doesn't win.
Well, you pledge right now that you will not run in the primary.
I've already said that, and for all those years that I've been delegates, that's exactly what I've done. I support the person who is the eventual winner of the convention. I did that with Brian Kalk when he was endorsed over Kevin Cramer, who didn't come to the convention. And to be sure, I think you really do get a leg up by getting the endorsement of your political party. remembering back when Kramer Kalk ran against each other, Kevin was way better known, I think, statewide, but 5,000 vote switch in the primary election would have made all the difference, and Brian would have won and not Kevin.
Well, let me ask you this. Doug made it clear to the media yesterday he doesn't want to be labeled. He used that term himself. Excuse me. But what happened, Wayne, was he was talking about, circumstances that have come out in media. For example, Doug supports gay marriage. He doesn't like a ban on gay marriage. Where are you at when it comes to that?
The gay marriage is the law of the land, and that's something that all of us are going to have to come to terms with.
But that isn't what I'm asking, Wayne. What I'm asking is, do you think it's right?
Yes, I do support it. I understand it's the law of the land, and that is something that we're all going to have to get used to. And as Republicans, Democrats, everybody, we need to recognize that this is what the law is. And as Republicans, we have a big tent. We welcome people of all persuasions, religions, sexual persuasions, and race, creed, religion, whatever it may be. And that's the reality of what we're going to deal with now.
Let me ask you another one, because there's many of us who, I fought pro-life issues on the floor of the Senate with you, but yet there's an understanding that there's circumstances where abortion might be a necessity. Where are you at when it comes to that social issue?
Those necessities include rape, incest, life and health of the mother. Those that are recognized in state law at the present time, just like you have over the years.
But my point of this, Wayne, is you could easily say that now, after what you've just said to me, that you are pro-gay marriage, that you're okay with gay marriage. Fair?
Well, let me say I recognize that that's the reality, and I think we're going to be just fine with this looking forward. You know that this has been in the law of the land for just 6 or 7 months now.
No, I know that, Wayne. I know that. But what you're doing is you're talking around it. What I'm saying is, do you personally believe that a couple that is gay have not the legal right, but do you morally believe that they should have a right to be married?
I have to say that I do think that.
It's not that hard.
It isn't that hard, and we're going to all have to get used to it too. Let's understand that we just need to realize that this is the reality of where we are. And it's not been that big of a deal here in North Dakota. It seems to me that so far it's working.
I think North Dakotans get it. I think that they're ready for 2016.
I have come a long ways, as probably you have, and most North Dakotans on this, from opposition to tolerance, and at this point, for most North Dakotans, I think acceptance.
Yep. Good. So we're on the same page.
And I defended the law, believing that this was, as the dissent in the Supreme Court case said, this is a political issue that should be decided by the states, and that's the way that you resolve these things. But that's not the way the Supreme Court saw it.
Attorney General Wayne Stenehjem is our guest. Wayne, I have to ask you this. Doug Burgum gave you $1,000 when you ran for governor. When you made your announcement for governor, it's in the report. He gave you $1,000. Does it surprise you now he wants to run against you?
No, it doesn't. He's got a story to tell. He's got a wonderful family history, but you know what? So do I. And I'm happy to discuss all of that with the folks across the state of North Dakota as we go forward. He has supported me in the past, and I think that at the convention that I'll prevail. And I'm hoping as he goes around the state and sees this process as one that is open and fair, and that it's that we welcome people of all stripes to come to our party. I think that he might reconsider, at least I hope he does, and then abide by the result of the convention.
I took a butt chewing before you came on, because some would say whine, I would say, complain. but I have said that I haven't always been able to get in touch with you about some tough issues, not the least of which has been the Andrew Sadek case and how you as chief law enforcement officer could have played a bigger role in getting to the bottom of that case. Are you ever going to meet the Sadeks in person?
I've talked to him on the phone, and I'm sure happy to meet with him to discuss where we are. I think that there's some common ground that we can reach. I know what they're concerned about with the confidential informants. That's something we're addressing now. But I also want to address your assertion that I don't come on your show. I am happy to come on your show. I have never refused to do it unless there's a conflict and we need to reschedule. You are one person who has my number right here at my desk, and you know why you have it.
But I don't abuse that. I mean, I
No,
got that
no,
from
you
the
don't. But
Heidi
I don't
days.
want
Yeah.
you to think that there's
I
any
go
reason that I'm not willing to come on your show. I've done it every time that you have ever asked.
But when we go through, Liz, and I criticize this on air, so I'm just going to do it to your face, so you get a chance to respond. When we call Liz, it's like we run into a firewall. My newsroom has said that. Our competitors have said that same thing, Wayne. It's pretty universal here in eastern North Dakota when people call you that it's not easy to get past her.
I've asked you or asked her to tell me when it is that you have called to be on your particular show, and there's no instances that I have that I can see that says there's a time when you've asked or we didn't try to accommodate you. Okay, and that's important. This is an important part of what it is we do in public life, and sometimes we don't agree. I know you're in the other political party, but I'm always happy to talk to you. You're always polite, and we can have a thorough discussion of the issues.
But it's like Becky at prom, Wayne. After she tells me no 5 times, I quit calling. So I'm just saying.
Well, keep calling. And you have. I've given you my personal email address too, so you can get through to me.
Let's do this. Let's talk about things that you see on the horizon, because one thing that Doug talked about was new leadership in North Dakota. You countered with North Dakota winning an award as being one of the best-run states in the union. That clearly is going to be a dividing and a wedge issue between you folks.
That may well be in my position, and I think that it's important to note is that North Dakota is doing things right. We are regarded and have been indicated to be the best-run state in the nation 4 years in a row. And I think most North Dakotans, according to polling, think we're heading in the right direction, unlike how they feel about how things are going in Washington. But that doesn't mean we don't build on our successes. There are lots of things that we can do. We're working to diversify our economy. We've relied on agriculture, which will always be our number one industry here in North Dakota and should be. But we also have learned over the years that what we need to do is to diversify our economy. And we've been working diligently to have fertilizer plant like the one we're talking about up in Grand Forks, the diesel plant like outside of Dickinson, plastics, which is a huge thing that Badlands LLC is working on. Grand Forks is becoming the global hub of unmanned aerial vehicle research and development. Those are all the high-tech things, too. And for this, Doug gets credit. The high-tech things that are happening in Fargo, not just with Microsoft, with so much else. Those are the kinds of things that we need to continue to build upon. We don't need a new trajectory. We just need to continue on the path that we are, redouble our efforts to do all the kinds of things that we're doing. And then work too. The legislature has been very wise. I think they should get credit for it as well, and the governor and the rest of us in the executive branch, with what we did with the funding that we've had when oil was high. Infrastructure development, one-time funding for all kinds of highway projects, built a new medical school up in Grand Forks, paid cash for it, bypasses around Williston and Watford City, paid cash for them, gave tax relief, and then set aside a whole lot of money into these savings accounts that are here to be utilized when there is a rainy day. And the rainy day is here, and we'll tighten our belts. We certainly have to do that. There will be probably a 2.5% reduction. All of us in the executive branch will have to carve out of our budgets, and then the funding will be available from those savings accounts, which was a very wise thing for the legislature to do.
So no Republican is going to say, Joel Heitkamp, come MC our debate. But if I got a chance, if I sat there at that debate, I would look you in the eye and I'd say, as governor, if you were governor today or if you were governor a year ago, would have you ever given your staff members the type of bonuses that Jack Dalrymple gave his?
Well, I know that when a governor leaves office that they have to deal with the fact that all of the people who are working for you are now out looking for other jobs, and you have to do what you have to do to hold on to them. So I don't want to second guess them, but I probably would have done things differently.
I would also ask you whether or not you think you've been responsible in dealing with the environmental issues of Western North Dakota.
I think we have, and we're going. And I think that where we've fallen down is not in what we're doing, but how it is that we're communicating to people that we care about what the environment is. And I don't think that there's anybody who really can assert that we don't care. When there's a spill, and I think this is important for people to know, when there's a spill, step number one, irrespective of whatever else happens, is we tell them, you have to clean it up, and you have to do it at your expense, and we don't care what the cause was. If it's your pipeline, you have to fix it. That's step one, and that is a critical thing. Then you get into the talk about, well, what are we going to do with assessments for penalties and so forth. And even then, when we do assess a fine and suspend part of it, we always do that on the condition that there are changes that are made that will assure that these kinds of things don't happen in the future.
Wayne, I look forward to more of this in the future.
Yeah.
Thanks for your time today.
And yeah, I don't want you to think that I don't come on your radio show or that I'm unwilling to do it. Give us a call.
All right. Thank you, Wayne. Appreciate
Okay.
it.
Bye.
In fairness to me, I do call, but that we'll just let that be there.